Hi, I'm John Budd. Welcome to Personnel Economics. I'd like to start the class with an example.
Maybe this has happened to you. You're waiting for a bus on a busy route. Perhaps you're the only one at the stop. Then another person arrives to wait for the bus, and another, and another. But then rather than one bus arriving, a bunch of buses for the same route all arrive at once. This is called bus bunching, and it's very inefficient. Suppose a bus company wants to address this problem and reduce bus bunching. An operations person might see this as a technical issue and then focuses on issues that cause the first bus to be delayed, like traffic. But maybe there are HR aspects. How engaged are the drivers? How well have they been trained? No, not that kind of train. But of particular interest in this course, what can a personnel economics lens add to an HR diagnosis of this organizational problem? Personnel economics applies economic thinking to HR issues within organizations. Ask yourself, how can bus bunching connect to personnel economics? Hint: focus on the driver. How do you think bus drivers are paid? Probably a fixed hourly wage. This is easy to administer, predictable, and transparent. But do bus drivers who are paid a fixed hourly wage have any financial incentive to avoid bunching? No. What might happen if bus drivers are paid per passenger? If the bus in front is collecting all the passengers and you get too close, there will be few passengers to collect. So a bus driver who is motivated by extra pay would be expected to slow down to maintain spacing and allow time for more passengers to queue up, or speed up and pass a slow bus to grab the passengers waiting at the next stops. In other words, when paid per passenger, bus drivers have a financial incentive to adjust their spacing and avoid bunching. In Chile, you can find areas where a sapo jumps on a bus at a stop, gives the driver some numbers, gets a coin in return, and jumps off. What's going on? Drivers are buying information on when the previous bus was at that stop because they are being paid per passenger and were therefore trying to adjust their speed to increase their income. An academic article was inspired by this practice and collected data on whether bus drivers were paid hourly or per passenger and connected this to passenger waiting time. The authors estimate that per passenger compensation reduces the average waiting time by 13% compared to when bus drivers are paid a fixed wage. This is exactly what a personnel economics approach to analyzing bus bunching would predict. Economics assumes that bus drivers are like everyone else in being self-interested and motivated by money, and work is assumed to require effort that is costly to the worker because of physical, mental, or emotional demands. Hourly wage bus drivers are therefore predicted to drive their buses at whatever pace the speed limit and traffic volumes allow, even if the buses end up bunched up, because there are no extra monetary rewards for exerting additional effort to avoid bunching. In contrast, bus drivers who are paid per passenger are seen as having a financial incentive to adjust their spacing with the bus in front of them, so they are more likely to exert additional effort to avoid bunching. In other words, we can derive a simple personnel economics hypothesis. The financial incentive of paying bus drivers on a per-passenger basis is predicted to reduce bus bunching compared to situations when drivers are paid a fixed hourly wage, and this is what that study found. But personnel economics also teaches us not to be naive about incentives. Self-interest is just that. So incentive pay might have unintended consequences for others. When paid by the passenger, bus drivers have an incentive to speed up to pass slow buses. The same academic article mentioned earlier found that riders on per-passenger pay buses were much less likely to feel that the driver waited until they were safely seated before starting. And per-passenger pay buses had accident rates that were almost twice as great as those for fixed-wage buses. Bus bunching then illustrates the type of questions and approach taken in personnel economics. At the most general level, personnel economics applies economic assumptions and tools to human resources problems. More specifically, a particular focus is predicting and analyzing how self-interested workers behave in reaction to various HR policies. That is, what incentives does an HR policy contain, and how might we expect workers to respond to these incentives? And then armed with that understanding, personnel economics can help design optimal HR policies that promote organizational goals when workers are self-interested and motivated by money. For example, personnel economics suggests that while paying a fixed wage to bus drivers doesn't undermine safety, it doesn't provide an incentive to reduce bunching. Per-passenger compensation provides this incentive, but may also have unintended consequences such as reduced safety. so this can push HR to think about alternatives. For example, GPS systems could be used to show the locations of the buses to the drivers and to reward the drivers for maintaining specified intervals between their buses. Ultimately then, this is an HR strategy class. Based on assumptions, we're trying to predict worker behavior and devise strategies for optimally responding to or shaping that behavior. But the assumptions we're emphasizing are economic ones. This doesn't make them right, but the insights can be powerful when workers are self-interested and motivated by money. So understanding economically oriented workers is the focus of this course.